Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what I would like for you to do right now is to get your journals out. In your journals, we're going to take some notes. These notes will be very handy when you take a test on Friday. The test on Friday will include dividing unit fractions by whole numbers. So these notes are going to be greatly beneficial to you. The title in your table of contents, dividing unit fractions by whole numbers. We'll also have a review assignment on Thursday. And the last part of the review assignment on Thursday, it's going to be list your table of contents and the order you have your table of contents. So it'll be a nice fancy sheet of paper. Then there'll be plenty of room for you to write down your table of contents and the order of the items you have in your table of contents. So hopefully you've been keeping up with that. My reasoning behind that is some of you have not been making good choices and not doing your table of contents. So this will either motivate you to, or you'll fail that review because it is a large portion of the grade for that review assignment. Because that's the way I roll. Now you have in your possession some problems where we are dividing unit fractions by whole numbers. And the problems you have give you where you're making a model. I'm going to show you 3 of the problems that are on that paper by making the model, but I'm also going to show you the standard algorithm. The standard algorithm. So that you have 2 ways of doing it. That will be a good way for you to check your work. So Nathan, you with me? All right, cool. All right, cool. Now I'm saying this is a unit fraction. And every problem that you have has a unit fraction. So Taylor time, looking at the problems on your paper, what do you think a unit fraction is?
It's a fraction that, well, it's obviously a fraction, but it's a fraction that can be divided by.
Okay, it's a fraction.
Oh, that's 1.
That's 1. It has a 1 as a numerator. It's 1 part. 1 unit. 1 part. Okay, so I believe this is problem number 4. And so this we have 1/3 divided by 4. We are dividing this fraction, which means our quotient is going to become smaller than 1/3. Now the first set on the instructions that you learned from the video and that's at the top of that paper is it tells you to take the fraction and divide our 1 whole, this is 1 whole, divide it into that section, 1/3. Okay? So I have 1/3, or I divide it into thirds. Obviously I have 3/3 because 3/3 equals 1. It does equal 1. Then I want to take that and I want to divide each of my thirds into fourths, into 4 equal pieces. So we end up with something that resembles that. Now what we want, what our answer is what one of these sections is. The value of one of those sections, because we took our 1/3 and we divided it into fourths. Our 1/3 and divided it into 4 pieces. Okay, so how many sections do we have that we're looking at? Say 1. 1. Out of how many total sections are there? 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So using a picture, I'm going to get 1/12. Using a picture, I'm going to get 1/12. So that's using the model. The standard algorithm, which you don't have to know this year. You'll learn it next year. But hey, I'm all about preparing you for next year. So let's look at the standard algorithm. You need to remember keep, change, flip for the standard algorithm. Keep, change, flip. And they showed that in one of the videos that some of you were daydreaming through. So that's why I'm here, to undaydream you. Undaydream you. So we have the problem 1/3 divided by 4. The keep means I keep this first fraction exactly how it is. Any ideas what the change might be? Celise?
Change the fraction.
Okay, change what?
The fraction.
Okay, now we're keeping the first one just like it is. All right, let's jump to the flip. Let's jump to the flip and see if that'll help you figure out what the change is. Erica, I need to flip this fraction over. Find the reciprocal. That's what it's called when you flip it over. So, but that's a whole number, Erica. So how do I write 4 as a fraction? 4/4 equals 1. No, 1/4 equals like 1/4 of a dollar would be 25 cents. Eden?
4. 4. 1.
Good, 4/1.
4/1. I don't know.
Because remember, a fraction's a division problem. And if I say 4 divided by 1, I get 4. That's the reason. So to change a whole number into a fraction, all we have to do is put it over to 1. So now, my third step says to flip. So I'm going to find the reciprocal, which means I'm going to change this fraction. Instead of 4/1, I'm going to make it 1/4. Just flip it over. Find the reciprocal. Now I do something here. I change here. Knowing what my answer is, Lee, do you think you can figure out? I know my answer is 1/12. I've proven it with my picture. So what do you think I change this to? That's a division sign. Natalie?
Multiplication.
I change it to multiplication. That is what keep, change, flip means. I keep the first fraction the way it is. I change the division sign to multiplication, and I flip the second fraction over. I find the reciprocal. That's the same whether it's two fractions. If it was 7/10 divided by 3/4, you follow the same 3 steps. Nathan?
Couldn't you just put a 1/4 in the first place?
No, because then you're not changing 4 to 1/4. And if you had the problem 7/10 divided by 3/4, you have to know that this becomes 7/10 times 4/3. Okay? So that's why you can't just put the 1 above it. That changes the value of the 4 before you do the keep, change, flip. Make sense? All right, and when we multiply, Tatum, when we multiply fractions, how do we do it?
We multiply
Good, straight across. Numerator times numerator. So Tatum, what's 1 times 1? And 3 times 4? And so we end up the same way. So knowing the standard algorithm is a good way to check whether you did your picture correctly. So that, I believe, is number 4. If I remember correctly. And I believe you're writing all this down in your journal, so I don't get sad. Let's take 1/7 divided by 4, which I believe is number 5, if I remember correctly. 1/7 divided by 4. And we have to have our picture of one whole. This is one whole. One whole. I need to take 1/7 and divide it by 4, so I need to divide this into sevenths. Okay? And then I need to take each seventh and divide that into 4. Because I want to know what this much equals. This much equals. And since we're just using unit fractions, all our numerators are going to be 1, since we're just using unit fractions. Because I want to know what the value of that one part is compared to the whole. That one part is compared to the whole. So Sophia, this is one part out of how many total? $28. And I can use it like an array and do 7 by 4. So just like an array that we've done when we talked about prime numbers and composite numbers. Our standard algorithm, we keep the 1/7. We change to multiplication. We flip this 4 over 1 and make it 1 over 4. And we're going to get, again, 1/28. Now back in the day when I learned, I was just learned to keep, change, flip. We weren't taught why. We didn't care why. That's just how you did it. Just put the right answer down. But they're wanting kids nowadays to learn the why, and this is the why. This shows you how you get 1/28. So the why has become more important now than it was. Caden.
Can you just replace the division symbol with the times and just do it by that and just get the answer?
If it works for you.
Yeah. If I just,
And let's look at one more. We have 1/5 divided by 4. I need to get my 1 whole. I want to take 1/5, so I need to divide this into fifths. And I need to take each fifth and divide it into 4 sections. And I'm looking at just this section. Since I'm looking at just the one section, Isabel, what's my numerator?
1
And my denominator?
is
20. And I could use this as an array, 5 by 4. Keep the first fraction 1/5. Change, flip, and I'm going to get 1/20. Now Thursday, when we do our review of all the fraction stuff, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, it's just going to be knowing how to do the skill. It's not going to include the word problems like the test on Friday will include. So you have to be able to know. The only thing difficult, and all we're doing is dividing with unit fractions. That's all we're doing. This year, all I need to know is how to divide unit fractions by whole numbers or whole numbers by unit fractions. Those are two different things. We'll look more at the whole number divided by unit fraction tomorrow. But the key to this is to figuring out what's being divided in a word problem. You can't just willy-nilly guess. Yes, ma'am.
When you're making like the square thing, can you do for number 8? Can you do a 4?
Yeah.
Anyway?
It doesn't matter as long as your array is 5 by 4, 4 by 5. Okay? And the keep, change, flip is a great way to review it. Tomorrow, we look the other way with the whole number divided by a unit fraction. We'll go and we'll review a little bit on Wednesday. Adding and subtracting, because that's really the hardest part of fractions, is the adding and subtracting fractions. That's much more difficult than multiplying and dividing. Now, my plea, and I'm going to address this to the leaders of our country. Dear leaders of our country, most of the rest of the world uses the metric system. The metric system is much easier than doing with fractions. The metric system is either multiplying or dividing by powers of 10. So multiply by 10 or 100 or 1,000, which just basically is moving the decimal point. Fractions are a lot more work. I'm just saying, a lot more work. Now, at Real Donald Trump, I have tweeted you numerous times. You've ignored me. But I have tweeted you asking to change from the customary system, which involves all sorts of fractions and stuff, to the metric system. Because the metric system, like I said, is much easier. And you guys would be much happier if we didn't have to jumble all this fractions and stuff in. Your life would be better.
Yes.
It would be easier and your life would be better.
Yes.
So, fellow people in charge of this world, know that I'm preaching this to my students,
Yes.
and they will soon vote.
Yes.
If you run on a campaign of going to the metric system, my students are going to vote for you.
Yes.
So I'm just saying,
Yes.
McMurdo's maniacs are ready to take over the world.
Yes.
Boom, shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love ya. Do something kind today. Sponsor me, Sonic.